Today's podcast is brought to you in part by Rochester Home Infusion. Rochester Home Infusion provides intravenous medications where it's comfortable and convenient for you in your home, hotel, or temporary residence so that you can get back to living your life. You can find out more by visiting them at rochesterhomeinfusion.com or by giving them a call at 507-316-0001. That's 507-316-0001. This podcast is also brought to you by Live Adam. Live Adam is a Rochester-based business that helps other businesses grow online by generating more leads. Learn more by visiting their website at liveadam.com. That's liveatom.com. Today's podcast is also brought to you by Rochester Area Economic Development, Inc., or READY. READY connects technology-based entrepreneurs to local resources to support and help grow their companies. READY manages a technology incubator downtown called the Mayo Clinic Business Accelerator and administers 2 investment funds that invest in new companies. Go to ready.com for more information. That's RIEDI.com. I'm Amanda Leitner, and welcome to Rochester Rising, where we amplify the stories of Rochester entrepreneurs. Rochester Rising is currently now the storytelling arm of Collider Foundation, a 501c3 nonprofit that believes that Rochester ideas and innovators will change the world. Welcome to episode 149 of the podcast today. So today I got to chat with local entrepreneur Kara Kloss of Kara Kloss Hair. So Kara owns her own business and rents a studio at Sola Salons in Northwest Rochester. So for those of you who aren't familiar with Sola Salons, they're for individuals in the beauty industry and massage industry space where individual business owners can rent a room in basically this community of beauty industry and massage individual business owners. Sola Salons has over 300 locations, and there are currently 3 in Rochester. So on the podcast today, we talk with Kara about her hair and makeup business that she does through Sola Salon and also the wedding portion of her business. We talk about her career path, and we also talk about higher education and the importance of having a passion for your career and taking time to figure out your path. We chat on the podcast today about the value of dedication and motivation when you're growing your own business, especially during the disappointing moments. We talk about an investment in yourself and why that's important, and how she's used social media to grow her business locally. We chat about the insights she's seen from following social media profiles of others operating in her industry and how she balances work and life. Just a few more words from our sponsors before we launch into the podcast today. So this podcast is brought to you by Jeb Taylor Knives. Jeb Taylor is creating fine cutlery for kitchen and the outdoors. These are handcrafted in Rochester, Minnesota. You can find them on Facebook and Instagram or www.jebtaylorknives.com. That's JEBTAYLOR knives.com. This podcast is also brought to you in part by Brendan Bush Photography. Dubbed the new handshake, professional headshots are now the first introduction to you, your business, and your personal brand. Shouldn't that intro be the best it can be? Brendan Bush Photography is Rochester's business headshot photographer. Whether you're an entrepreneur looking for a social media image upgrade or a large business that wants a staff headshot today, Brendan can accommodate your needs. You can find out more at brendanbushphotography.com. That's BRENDANBUSH photography.com. Today's podcast is also brought to you in part by Leah Labs. Do you love dogs and hate cancer? Have you ever wanted to be a startup investor? You have a unique opportunity to invest in a startup with a great mission at Leah Labs. Leah Labs is a Rochester, Minnesota-based company working to bring modern cancer cures to dogs. Invest in Leah, receive equity, and help save dogs from cancer. You can visit www.wefunder.com/Leah to learn more. That's wefunder.com/LEAH. All right, so now on to the podcast with Kara Kloss of Kara Kloss Hair. Well, thanks for being on the podcast today, Kara. On this, I don't know if it's a beautiful fall morning, but whatever.
A little chilly.
It's not raining or snowing, so I guess we'll take that. So yeah, I thought to start out just asking you how the Sola Salon models work. Since we have 3 in town, I don't think everyone's quite aware of like exactly what it means to be in there.
Yeah, I know a lot of people when they walk in, they're like, where am I? Like, where's like the front desk? So everybody is their own business owner within Sola. So Sola is basically a corporate company, but they cater to basically entrepreneurs in the beauty industry, massage. So you walk in and it's just like a bunch of studios. Everybody has their own room. And you basically just rent out that room and you run your business out of it. So I technically am a salon owner, but just in the building of Sola, essentially.
Yeah, and then there's 3 in town, and then they're all over the country, right?
Yeah, there's over 300 locations now.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and they're all like they're on wait lists. Like people are loving it. It's a great way to have a salon without having to worry about all the logistics of it, because it includes like your liability insurance and all of that stuff in your rent. So basically, I just have to do hair, do what I love, and not have to worry about all of that stuff.
Yeah, cool. Because to me, it seems like a little bit of like, I don't know if you want to call it like incubator, but like it helps with, and that was my question, like it helps with like the insurance, the liability.
Yes. Yeah.
Do they provide like anything else, like any kind of business mentoring?
So they do this thing called Sola Sessions. I personally have never been to one, not yet anyways. They usually pop up about once a year, and it's just a team of Sola stylists and massage therapists, and they put on it's basically like a business convention, I guess, for Sola people.
Yeah, very cool. So how have you found like the community support there and working amongst other, salon owners, other massage therapists?
Yeah.
Has that been beneficial for your growth, or what's kind of been like? Okay.
Yeah. So it's nice because, if you can't get a client in, or if somebody, comes to you and you don't have anything available, everyone is so great. We have our private little Facebook pages with all of like the Sola professionals. Mm-hmm. And so we can just post on there, or if somebody needs an extra stylist for like a wedding party or something, everyone is like so keen to like help out if they can. So that's been super awesome. So basically just referring within the Sola network is really cool.
Yeah, community is so important, and like having that support, because no one else, even like we were talking about here, like no one here could like relate to what you're dealing with as a stylist and running your own salon. Yeah. It's just like a completely different world.
It's crazy. It's like I'm my receptionist. I have to do, all of my books and all of that stuff, all my scheduling. So it's, a lot behind the scenes as well, not just being behind the chair. There's a lot of extra work that goes into it.
Yeah. And I remember when I was talking with Kayla at Swoon, she was talking about all of the like regulations and like the health.
So many
guidelines.
Regulations. It's crazy, but it's good. It protects us in the long run, but it's a little intimidating.
Yeah, no, that's a lot to like balance as a business owner.
Yeah.
And figuring that all out. So yeah, you run your own salon. You're a stylist at Sola in the Northwest here. Like, what was your passion for getting into this type of business, and how did you originally get interested in cosmetology?
Yeah, so actually I went to Winona State at first, right out of high school. Everyone's always like, you need to go to college, you need to do this and that and get your 4-year and all of that. And it just wasn't for me. I didn't really know what I wanted to do. I changed my major probably about like 8 times in that 1 year. So about the fall of my freshman year of college, I kept this pamphlet of a beauty school, and I was like, oh, I think like I would be good at that. I always like helped girls out for like school dances and whatever. So I just was like, well, I'm going to give it a shot. Maybe I'll go back to school and get my business degree or something, but let's just give this a go. And it worked out well for me.
Awesome. Yeah, I talked to so many people who it's either like, yeah, school just wasn't for me, but it seemed like everyone tells you that's what you're supposed to do.
Yes. I felt like it was like very pressured on me in high school. Like I was going into the fall of my senior year of high school, and they're like, well, where are you going to school? What are you going for? And it was extremely overwhelming. I'm like, well, I don't really know. I'm just going to wing it and see what happens.
Yeah. I think it's so crazy how we get so pressured to do that. Even like, when I went to college, like everybody went to post they went to something after college, and it was like every single person.
It's crazy.
Did.
Yes.
And it was like, and they like, I remember, and I don't remember, my mom told me, because like, you know, when you're in that moment, you don't, but like they announced where everyone was going when they got their diploma, and she's like, there were only 3 kids who weren't going somewhere after college.
Yeah.
I'm like, you just get like cattle herded.
And they do. I feel like they really push you on that. Like, you know, you need to get this, and you can't get a job if you don't have a degree. And it's like, well, not necessarily. Just depends.
Yeah. Or I talk to people who are like, well, I don't have a business degree and I don't have an MBA, so I'm not like suited, or I'm not an entrepreneur. And it's like, what?
Yeah. And I feel like a lot of that too, you know, it's, you kind of have to learn on the fly.
You do. And, you know, I could see things like, okay, like legal. Yes, you need to hire somebody. You know, if you need to handle an accountant, like I'm like super
I hire one out for my business. Yeah. I'm like, I'm not messing with that.
You hire it. Yeah. If there's things you're not comfortable with and you have the ability to. Yeah. Or you know, farm it out to friends and family.
Pretty much.
Which is, what all of us do. Yeah. You know, when we can't afford it.
Yep. Totally.
So, no, I think that's such like a common theme of like I hear, you know, and myself included, like again and again. It's like all these, it's society.
It is. Yeah.
Where am I here? So you worked in, you know, a typical salon for, you know, several years. So when in that process did you say, okay, you know, I've been doing this, it's time to open something of my own, and what went into that decision-making process? Yeah,
so my story is a little crazy with that. I actually quit doing hair after about the first like 8 months of being in the salon. I just, you know, I was burnt out. I wasn't even doing what I wanted to do. You know, a lot of times what salons will do is they put you in doing like nails first. So I wasn't even really doing hair. I was working every Saturday, every Sunday, and I was burnt. So I'm like, you know, I'm just going to go back to school, figure out what exactly it is like I'm meant to do. And so I quit doing hair for about 3 months, and then a salon that was downtown, it's closed now, but they had reached out to me, and I was Aveda trained at the time, and they were an Aveda salon, and so I was like, well, I'll check it out, but I'm not really sure. And I just fell back in love with it again, and then after about a year, they closed. So I went back to the salon that I'd worked at before, because they had just gotten new ownership, and things were supposed to be a little bit different, and it was still kind of the same thing. So I'm like, I don't know if I'm ready for this, but I'm just going to go off on my own and see what happens. And 3 years later, here I am.
It's amazing how that just goes. That's the same thing as me. It's like 3 years later. Whoa, how did
flew by?
Turned to 3 years. But yeah, I think that's so important to like take that time when you're going down a path and you're like, this isn't like right. And a lot of people won't do that.
Yeah. And it was very zigzaggy for me. And I'm like, okay, what am I supposed to be doing here? But I'm like, I'm just going to go with it and see what happens.
Yeah. So. I honestly think that's, you know, we're recognizing that's more of the normal thing to do.
Yeah.
And more of the healthy thing than like we were talking about just pushing down one path.
Oh my goodness.
That doesn't make sense.
Burnout. I was not a happy person, I'm sure.
Yeah. And that's, you know, I think in the community we're starting more to like recognize the importance of like general wellness,
self-care.
And, self-care, and not just like this hustle mentality, because it doesn't really like, imagine if you just kept pushing forward and like the first instance you were in. Like sure, you might be doing, you know, hair in like a couple months, but like, you know,
not happy with it. You know, you lose your passion.
Yeah. And that's really kind of the most important part. Not kind of, it is the most important part.
You have to be passionate, and clients feed off of that. They know, you know.
Oh, yes.
They're like, you know, they can tell.
You can absolutely tell when someone doesn't want to be doing what they're doing. So, you know, your first 6 months when you opened your new salon, you know, what kind of was that like for you? Were you ever able to take any clients, or was it just like starting from scratch? So
I was super lucky in that circumstance. A lot of times you're not allowed to take your clients. I had built up a decent clientele when I worked at the salon downtown, and since they had closed, I was able to get all of their information. And I did take a couple clients that I'd built up in the 6 months that I went back to the previous salon that I'd worked at. You know, the first 6 months were pretty scary. I was like, I don't know if I made the right decision. And then all of a sudden it's like, okay, I'm booked out a week. I'm booked out a couple weeks. And now I'm like, I'm booked out a couple months. It's very rewarding. Yeah.
Yeah. That definitely sounds like a nice, worked out pretty
It worked out very good.
Yeah. No. And it has to feel so nice when that, you know, it's so not frustrating, but like, makes you anxious when it's like, when is this going to happen?
Yes, it was terrifying.
And you have family, right? You have kids and
no kids. No, just my husband and I, and we have 2 fur babies.
Oh, so, 2 fur babies.
Yeah.
Okay. But still, it's like, you have obligations and things like that. And it's just like,
it was rocky.
Yeah. No, I hear you on the fur babies though.
Yes.
That's all I have too. So, thinking about these, because I think when you make it to 3 years, like, it's pretty serious. You've made it through a lot of the hurdles. I think if you make it through 2 years, you really like have understood what the business is.
Yep.
So what do you think like has helped you, like anything intrinsically, values that you have helped get you through these 3 years?
Just staying dedicated to it, not giving up when you have 3 people not show up to their appointments that week. It can get pretty discouraging, but just kind of keep pushing through things, I guess. Yeah. Staying just motivated.
Yeah. It's really easy to get frustrated and depressed when it's like, when things are not going well.
Yep.
So totally agree.
Yeah. I just always try to look at like the positive of every situation that I kind of come through with it.
Absolutely. So, over these 3 years, how do you feel that your business has changed or you as an entrepreneur has changed and grown?
Yeah, I feel like I've changed a lot. When I first started at Sola, I was only 22. I had only been doing hair for maybe about a full 2 years. So I feel like I've just grown a ton. I've really invested in myself and further education for myself and my clients. They want to see that. And just the growth of my clientele has been crazy. I feel like I blinked and it just all of a sudden has gotten wild, which is amazing. Very thankful.
Awesome. Yeah, I was listening to a podcast a few weeks ago and they asked, what's the best investment you've ever made? And, for me, I always think, it's something like physical.
Yeah.
But then they said it was an investment in like themselves and their education.
Yep. And I'm always like trying to further that education, whether I'm going to conferences or I'm doing something online, just especially for like my bridal business and stuff like that.
Yeah.
You have to keep up to date on everything.
Oh my gosh, everything changes so quickly in
every
hair.
season.
Yeah. I think it's so crazy when you look at like, or watch old TV shows from even like, let's say 6 years ago and you're like, whoa.
Yeah.
What were people like the 90s with all like the fringe and stuff?
Crimped, like micro crimped hair.
Yeah. And like, 25 layers of, hair. It's just, totally agree. I feel like, hair is one of the things that like is changing so quickly all the time.
Yes.
That you have to keep up with.
Yep.
And, it's a lot. And the health regulations, which I never thought about before.
And honestly, those change all the time. Like, I feel like I'm always getting emails from the board, like, okay, now you can't do this without this license or, whatever. It's crazy.
Yeah. I suppose it exists for a very good reason.
It does, and they only make those rules, I'm sure, because they get types of situations that they want to continue to avoid.
Yes. Yeah, that's what I always think when you get some crazy rule and you're like, what? There was something that happened that this is required.
Yes.
So like, no matter how odd it is, there is a reason.
Yep.
Always interested in what specific resources in the community existed for you that were really helpful in growing your business.
Social media.
Okay.
I'm not sure if that's like the right direction of answer, but social media is huge, especially in like the hair industry. I mean, it's very visual. So everybody's looking at photos. That's probably the biggest thing that I've done to grow my business.
Yeah, absolutely. Social media is such a growing thing now, especially for certain industries.
Yeah.
It's really very powerful. Do you feel that there's a specific tool in your day-to-day that you couldn't run your business without?
My hair tools. I mean, all I need is a pair of shears and, can kind of go from there.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And they need to be functional and sharp.
Yes, and I'm always, keeping up on oiling them, cleaning them, sending them for sharpening. So,
but that is important, though.
It is. Yeah. I mean, you can tell.
Wouldn't think about that.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah, I always have a little thing, and I don't know what it is, but I have to get mine thinned.
Yes.
And I love that thing.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is.
Like, take all that bulk
need
out.
that at home, but I don't think that would be good because I'm sure there's some
It's a little scary.
skill required for that. I couldn't just do it. Is there any sort of, article, podcast, book, resource that you've consumed recently and that you found really insightful for business?
I follow a lot of, I guess, people within my industry that are on their own and things like that. And like I said, I'm going to seminars and all of that stuff a couple times a year. So just hearing their story and how they kind of run their business, especially with my bridal business, that's huge, getting the logistics of all of that down, and just how to run it and keep things organized within that.
Cool. That's something I don't do too much, and I probably should do more of, is like following other people in the industry and getting insights.
Yep.
And I don't listen to too many podcasts, which is crazy. But there's this one. It's called Gold Digger.
Yes. I listen to that one sometimes. Yeah,
she's
really great.
I just think like her social media, for example, I don't do the best job at like Instagram, and it's just very clear and it seems easy what she does.
Yeah.
And everyone loves it.
Yep.
And I'm like, how can I do that?
Yes. And I'm always looking for that too. It's so hard. It's hard to manage all that and keep up with it. I struggle with that a little bit.
Yeah. It's honestly hard to try and be like authentic.
Yes.
Which seems like
there's just so many people out there doing it.
There is. Yeah. And not be overwhelmingly like fake or like trying too hard.
Exactly.
It's hard.
Still being yourself.
Yeah. But yeah, I think that's a great answer. So how do you maintain or work to maintain work-life balance and wellness?
That's something I struggle with. It's hard.
All do.
Yes, especially as being self-employed, it's really easy. I say to a lot of people, I definitely work more than what I did when I worked for somebody else, and especially a lot of the behind-the-scenes stuff that people don't see. It's tough, but I'm definitely getting better at it. The first couple years, it was like you're trying to build that clientele, so you're working 24/7. I'm coming in on my days off just to fit in people, staying till 10 o'clock at night, 11 o'clock some nights taking clients. So I've definitely cut back on that and just kind of slowly starting to condense my books into like the hours that I want to work and taking time off, making sure I'm going on vacations or, my family's back in Wisconsin. So making sure I'm going back and seeing my family because that was something I just kind of didn't make time for a few years.
Yeah, I think that's so important. And like, definitely visiting the family.
Yeah.
I was actually just texting my mom this morning. I'm like, I think I'm going to buy a plane ticket and come home.
Yes, absolutely. Do it. Buy the ticket, girl.
Yeah. But yeah, that, you always try, and it had to be really hard to come to that conclusion that you're like, I just can't do this.
And I'm trying to balance and go to the gym and make sure I'm eating healthy, make sure I'm spending enough time with my husband and my dog and going to see my nephews and nieces. It's very wearing, but I'm definitely figuring it out as I go.
Yeah. I think that's the best we can all do is figure it out, and it always changes depending on what's going on.
Yep, absolutely.
What are the next steps for you and your business?
That is something I've been kind of asking myself over the last 6 months. I definitely, I love Sola and I will continue to work behind the chair at Sola. Rochester is just a very hard place. Everyone's always like, when are you going to open up, your own place? I'm like, well, this is my own place. It's hard to maintain with like employees. I want to have that work-life balance where I can travel more, but still work when I want to work and not have to worry about anybody else.
Yeah.
I would love to get into more kind of educating people in the industry about the business end of things, and start to really build more of like my bridal business. So I'm kind of working on a few things and kind of figuring out which direction I'm wanting to go in.
Cool. So what do you do with the bridal side?
So I travel hair and makeup.
Okay.
So doing right now, especially a lot of bridal parties pretty much every weekend. And I love that end of it. Yeah.
It's the time of the year.
It is. Yeah. And sometimes I'm like, I feel like I'm a planner for my brides as well. They've never done it before and I'm doing this every weekend. So I'm not really sure, but something.
Yeah. No, I think that's a really exciting place to be. And I think like with the bridal stuff, like that was something I never, like one of my bridesmaids talked me into it.
Yeah.
Because I was like, we can do this ourselves. But it's just like, it's such an important day and it's like so vulnerable too that like,
And it goes by so fast,
Yeah.
you know, getting ready, having that hair and makeup artist come in. It's a time where the bride can just really like close their eyes and relax, kind of take their time in with their girls. And then, you know, they're getting in their dress and it's just chaos from there. Just mad dash to get everything done on the timeline given. So I think it's super important for brides to take that time for themselves.
It is. And it's such a nice like role to fit into too, because you're like playing an essential part in that journey.
Yeah, I know. It's such like a good feeling leaving a wedding party, you know, and everyone is very like thankful and just feeling themselves. It's, you know, getting dressed up and having fun.
Yeah. When I did, when we had our wedding, I had originally said, you know, I can do my own makeup. And the girl that the hairstylist, and she was a makeup artist too, and we actually went to school together, and she was a couple years younger, so it was really nice. But we was like, we don't need makeup, we can do it. And then I started doing my makeup, and it was like really bad. And this poor girl, she was just like so rushed. She's like, hold on, and then she just did it in like 5 minutes.
That's awesome.
And it was like, if it was just like perfect, I was so grateful for that, because it would have been like a disaster.
Well, it's just, you know, the photos, like everything photographs so differently. And that's why people get their makeup done for their weddings, essentially, you know?
So I would highly recommend that.
Yes.
Getting your hair done and your makeup done. Like, you just do not think you can do it yourself.
Yes.
Because you can't.
Yep. No.
Even if you
it's
do
stressful.
It.
Yeah, it's stressful.
I mean, you probably didn't do yours,
nope,
did you? Yeah.
Nope, I didn't. And, you know, I'm like, I could do it. And I'm like, absolutely not. It never turns out good when you're like doing it for an event, you know? You're just like, I need to take this off and redo it.
Yeah. That's what we said when we were at Summer's wedding, who works at Sola too, a few weeks ago. And my husband was like, do you think Summer did her hair? And I was like, no.
She did.
Oh, she did.
She did her hair.
Did. Okay.
And she was in the studio that day, actually, like getting everybody ready for her wedding. She's so sweet.
So I stand corrected.
She did.
That is awesome. But yeah, I'm sure that doesn't happen too often.
No.
So I'll have to tell him back. So he was right then.
Yep.
Oh man. All right. So that was my last question for you.
Awesome.
So I'll leave you with, if you have any final thoughts, and let people know where they can find you, like in person or online.
Yeah. Well, thank you for having me today. It was super fun. So you can find me on Instagram at Kloss Hair, or on Facebook at Kara Studio 26. And I'm located at Sola Salons North, in Studio 26.
So, well, thanks for being here today. I appreciate it.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you.
Thanks so much to Kara for taking time to sit down and share her story and her entrepreneurial journey with us today on the podcast. You can find her on Instagram and Facebook, and at her Sola Salon location in Northwest Rochester. And you can find links to her social media in the show notes. We're always looking for great entrepreneurial guests for our podcast. If you know of a great Rochester-based entrepreneur that we should talk with, let us know and send us an email at rochesterrising@gmail.com. You can also find us on our website at www.rochesterrising.org. We just put out our newest digital magazine around the theme, I Am an Entrepreneur. So this is packed with 44 pages of stories about entrepreneurs or from entrepreneurs in our community. So check it out on our website at rochesterrising.org, and we'll have a link in our show notes as well. Hopefully you see some familiar faces there and learn some things about our community. You can also find us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, and we also have a YouTube channel. So connect with us wherever you consume your content. That's a wrap for the podcast today. Be sure to subscribe to us on Apple Music or wherever else you consume your podcast content, and be sure to rate us so that other people can find us. We'll see you here next week with a brand new episode.